Father God, we come to you now. We thank you, God, for this city. We thank you, God, for what you're doing in this community, Father. I pray for all our leaders, God, that you would give them wisdom how to run this city, Father God, that you would keep us safe, God. Thank you, God, that everyone can come out tonight, God. Give them travel and mercies as they go back home. And we thank you for your love and your goodness. And we pray, God, that you would just show your love to these people, God. Thank you for this night. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll get started here. First of all, just a reminder, make sure your microphones are off until you're actually using them, please. All right.
Roll call.
All right, roll call, please.
All right. Ms. Enlow? Here. Mr. Whitaker?
Here.
Ms. Mendez?
Here.
Ms. Portman?
Here.
Mr. Hibbard?
Here.
Ms. Mangus?
All right, I need approval for February 27th, regular meeting notes as presented. I need a motion. Motion by Jennifer.
Second.
Second by Faith. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hibbard?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
All right. All right. So part of our whole process with resolutions, we had a resolution last week about the funding and what we could do with it. Then we have another resolution showing our interlocal relationship on this. So, Ms. Catherine, if you will read for us Resolution 023003, please.
A resolution of the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, approving an interlocal cooperation agreement among the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky and other parties thereto regarding the Kentucky Bond Corporation. Whereas public agencies in the Commonwealth of Kentucky have experienced and are continuing to experience difficulty in economically funding, financing, or refinancing various governmental purposes at reasonable costs. Whereas certain public agencies in the Commonwealth of Kentucky will enter into or have heretofore entered into an interlocal cooperation agreement dated as of May 1st, 2010, attached hereto as Exhibit A, the agreement, as authorized by sections 65.210 through 65.300, inclusive of the Kentucky Revised Statutes as amended, the Interlocal Cooperation Act, which authorizes public agencies to cooperate and act jointly in exercising any and all powers, privileges, and authority capable of exercise by such public agencies in their respective individual capacities. And whereas, in order to provide a vehicle for economically funding, financing, or refinancing various governmental purposes of certain public agencies in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, the Kentucky League of Cities Interlocal Finance Program, the program, has been established under the agreement, and the Kentucky Bond Corporation, the corporation, has been established under the program to administer and operate the program and to provide funds for the program. And whereas participation in the program will benefit the public health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, the city, and whereas in order for the city to participate in the program, it must enter into the agreement as prescribed by Section 65.250 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, which provided for the creation of the program. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky as follows. Section 1, purpose. The city hereby finds, determines, and declares that all statements of fact set forth in the preamble to this resolution are true and correct in all respects, and such preamble is hereby incorporated into the body of this resolution by reference as if set forth at length herein. The city hereby further finds, determines, and declares that entering into the agreement and the issuance by the corporation of the obligations described in the agreement will be in the best interest of the city and are in furtherance of the public purposes and functions of the city and the public interest of the city. Section 2, approval of interlocal cooperation agreement. The agreement by and among the city and the other public agencies in the Commonwealth of Kentucky that will enter into or that have heretofore entered into the agreement is hereby specifically approved by the city in substantially the form set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto, recognizing that such agreement has been approved by the Attorney General of Kentucky as required by Section 65.260 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes. Section 3, repeal of conflicting actions. All ordinances, resolutions, orders, or other legislative or administrative actions or parts thereof of the city in conflict with the provisions of this resolution are, to the extent of such conflict, hereby repealed. Section 4, effective date. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon the date of its passage.
All right, so just remind everybody, what we have is we have the two resolutions, and we've had our first reading on the money that we're getting ready to borrow. Want to make sure that you guys understand this is part of the framework to make sure we have this relationship and the standards that we have to carry for getting the money. So with that said, I need a motion.
Discussion.
Yes,
I just had, it says it's between the city and other parties. I mean, I've experienced in the past interlocal agreements with the county as a single entity to do things. And so how many other parties are that would be party to this?
I mean, but again, it's with RSA, that's the group it is, but it's the standard framework. Gentlemen, good evening. Do you want to answer that?
Council member, so the agreement, the interlocal agreement, so a city such as yourselves is entering into this party so that we, as the Kentucky Bond Corporation, aka KLC, can go act on your behalf. So every city that has borrowed under this program is party to the interlocal agreement. There's no, the city of Mount Washington and you all would not have to have a separate agreement for this type of financing. This just says, once you're in the program, you're in it. So the next time, if you have to borrow money, you don't have to adopt another resolution, so.
I mean, it's just a framework.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a text amendment then. You either have the opportunity, you have the option of joining or not.
Yes, it's,
Okay.
yeah. It's just setting the framework for them, the process to actually get this thing rolling with the money. And again, the first reading does it, the
Yeah.
second reading.
So is it pretty much then between the city and RSA?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, well, you guys want to hang out there for a minute, just in case. Sure. All right.
I just had one other question
Yeah.
there. In section 3 where it says, you know, if this is in conflict with any other ordinances, I know Catherine's looked at a lot of ordinances and stuff. Do we, to our knowledge, have any existing ordinance that would be in conflict with this at this time?
We don't have anything because we haven't borrowed this kind of money. I think it's a matter of the, you want to answer that?
No, I don't, not speaking on it, providing legal advice, but this agreement would be uniquely separate from any other agreement that the city has entered into. I don't think there's anything in here that prohibits you also from going out and entering into, like, say, a lease agreement with a printer factory to say, okay, we need new printers, that we would not prohibit the city's actions there or try to limit any additional opportunities for the city.
Okay. That's all I had.
No worries. Thanks, Mike. All right, anybody else here? We're doing good? All right, so I need a motion, please, and then a second.
Motion.
I have Bonnie first, and then Paula second. Just not quick enough, Paula. It's close. All right, roll call, please.
Angus?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you all for that. Our next resolution, before we start, just a quick overview. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Did a little research, had some comments about our contract with Republic. So I had Catherine do some research, and of course, we found some opportunities in what we saw as far as the structure of ordinances back all the way to 1999. So what we did was, we reconstructed it all, we're gonna do it all from the ground up. So what we did is, this next resolution is actually going back to the process of having a contract and what needs to be actually done. And the reason why we're doing it this way, that once we have the process settled, and this resolution will do that, once we actually go back through the bid process, we've notified the Pioneer News, we've sent the bids out to the companies. Again, we'll open the bids on the 27th and vote on those. The key in this is that we've got to get the structure right on our ordinances, and we found that this is another opportunity in how we deal with contracts. Once we have the resolution done, and once we get the contract process squared away, then we're going to pass an ordinance that allows you the option of how you handle it. We have is a very vague structure in how we can, whether we keep a company in contract or we don't. But the one thing it requires is 18 months before you do that contract, you're supposed to plan. We have not done that at any one time. So again, these are some of the opportunities that we've had. It's not a big deal, but it's important that we get it right. And I thank Catherine for that, and there were some questions brought up about that. So this resolution is what we're reading now to set the process back up to handle this contract. So I wanted you all to know that. You're going to read the agenda and wonder why we're going back over that. I needed to explain what we're doing. We're going to get this process right. We're going to set the resolution in place, and then we're going to come back after we have our contract with who we have, an ordinance that tells us how we can handle it. The Kentucky Constitution allows you to have any one contract for 20 years. Okay, that's the Constitution, that's the highest law we have. So we want to make sure that that's not something we've done right. So I wanted to give you a little information about that. But this one, we also want to make sure that what we're concerned about is the resolution now is to make sure that we can keep our company, if it doesn't get settled by the end of March, that we're going to still pick up trash. So I want to make sure that you guys got some information on that, because sometimes when you read our agendas, we want to make sure clear of what, and if you have any questions, we'd be more than glad to answer that. So I want to make sure the council, that you all knew that, right? So with that said, Ms. Catherine?
Resolution 023-004, a resolution of the City of Shepherdsville, Kentucky to advertise for bids for an exclusive franchise for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse in the City of Shepherdsville. Whereas Section 163 of the Kentucky Constitution requires that public utilities acquire a franchise before operating within the city, and whereas Section 164 of the Kentucky Constitution requires that franchise privileges are subject to the bidding and advertising requirements set forth in applicable Kentucky law, and that bids received must be opened publicly, and whereas the city desires to advertise for bids the sale of an exclusive franchise for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse, now therefore be it resolved that the person, firm, or corporation acquiring this franchisee shall have the exclusive responsibility of the collection of garbage, refuse, and ashes in the city. The collection shall be made from all residential and commercial premises at least once a week, provided that A, the material is properly stored for collection in a proper container, and B, the bill is paid current. The franchisee shall notify the city code enforcement officer by mail or electronic mail immediately when the bill for a premise is not paid current, and for that reason the franchisee will not make collection of garbage, refuse, or ashes from the collection. All work performed by the franchisee shall be done in a workmanlike manner, and so as not to unnecessarily interfere with the public use of any public way, roads, streets, alleys, and other public places of the city. That the franchise term shall be for an initial period of 5 years with an option to extend the franchise for 3 additional terms of 5 years each term. The option to extend the franchise for additional terms may be exercised at the sole discretion of the city. The total length of the franchise shall not exceed 20 years. That it shall be the duty of the city clerk upon passage of this resolution to advertise the sale of an exclusive franchise for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse as herein set out for a period of not less than 10 days by written or printed notice posted in 3 of the most conspicuous places within the city, and advertise the sale of the franchise once a week for 3 successive weeks in the Pioneer News, so that final publication shall appear not later than 2 days before the day on which the sale will occur, and not sooner than the same day during the week preceding the week in which the sale shall take place. That the notice and newspaper advertisement shall state the latest date and time sealed bids shall be accepted by the city clerk at City Hall, and the date and time the bids shall be opened and submitted to the City Council for consideration and the vote to grant the franchise to the best bidder. In said advertisement and notice, the right of the City Council to reject any and all bids shall be reserved. The newspaper publication shall further describe the franchise to be sold and any special provisions. The provisions shall include, but not be limited to, the following. 1, the rate to be charged during the term of the franchise for residential pickup on a once-a-week and twice-a-week basis. 2, the rate to be charged during the term of the franchise for commercial pickup on a once-a-week through and including a 5-times-a-week basis. 3, the charge for containers, both for residential and commercial purposes. 4, whether or not prescribed containers for residential will be required, it being assuming prescribed containers will be required for commercial purposes. 5, what charge, if any, will be for recyclable materials, containers for same, and the frequency of pickup. This service shall not be mandatory. And 6, such other requirements as the mayor shall direct by written notice to the city clerk. That the city clerk shall set the franchise in accordance with the notice and that the city clerk shall sell the franchise in accordance with the notice and advertisement. That the city council may accept that bid which in its judgment is the best. However, no bid shall be accepted of less than $500 per year, which amount is fixed at the least price for the franchise. That the franchisee shall, within 10 days after the acceptance of its bid by the city council, pay the amount of said bid to the finance director of the city. That in the event the franchisee fails within 30 days after its bid has been accepted to comply with the provisions of this resolution, the city clerk shall again advertise the franchise for sale in the manner in which the first sale was made, and shall again sell the franchise in the manner and upon the same conditions and requirements as the original sale of the franchise was made, except that no sale shall be made to the bidder who failed to perform the terms of the first sale. That the franchisee shall assume the cost of publication of the ordinance awarding the franchise to the franchisee, as such publication is required by law and such is payable upon the city council's acceptance of the franchise agreement.
We did send some information to you all about why we were doing all this, to make sure that you guys had an understanding of why this whole process. But this sets us back with having the way we need to do things. So I don't know if there's any questions, open for discussion if we have any. Make a motion?
Second.
No, Mike has a question?
Couple questions.
Yeah.
Says in the resolution it's a 5-year term. In the advertisements that's already been put in the Pioneer News, it states 4 years.
Well, we can actually, what's that?
I didn't want to change.
No,
Yeah.
well, we have,
It's already been put out that I think today would be the second time.
no, so we can do on this. I think we still have the right to put what we want to on this. It's still a matter of 20 years. They still have to do the contract on it. I mean,
And okay, I just wondered because the advertisement says.
4 years on it.
contract.
I don't know I haven't seen the advertisement, so so what does the advertisement say then? Does it say that it's 4 years with the option?
No, it says 4 years.
Resubmit.
So then we will need to resubmit this advertisement, because if we don't submit it with the option to renew,
Yeah.
then we won't be able to exercise that option, because they have to know, whoever's making this bid, that they're making it for X years and that there's an option to renew.
So the next resolution is going to cover us because it'll probably go past the March. So Tom, we'll actually send this back to you. All right, we'll get you all right, we'll get you straight one. All right? That's not,
And then in order to get up to the 20 years extension, does it have to be a public utility?
no, not by the Constitution. It doesn't state that. It states your
Well-
option just for the contract.
Well, the trash is a public utility.
I mean,
Well, that was my question. I can understand that, in that section of the Constitution, it states that it is it refers to gas, water, telephone, electric, light companies, stuff like that. But obviously, like even here in Shepherdsville, you got LG&E, you got Salt River Electric, and that's basically it. And when they get a franchise, they have to, put in materials, poles, lines, such like that. Same with the internet providers. They have to make a big commitment, so obviously they want a longer term lease. And I was just wondering how it was determined, or on what information it was determined that a private company with probably plenty of competition, because I think the last time we bid it, we got like 5, okay, would be considered a public utility.
Because under Kentucky law,
Yeah.
the collection of trash is considered a public utility.
and Mike, to add to that, I talked to Morgan Patterson, and I explained to her this situation. She says, by this service that we offer, we have the right as a city to have them for as much as 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll make the change for you,
That's all
Tom?
I had on
No, all right?
And so, Mike, that's why, for when we put it in the newspaper, we have to advertise that there will be an option to extend. That way, all these companies know that it's not just for, a definite 5-year period, that we could extend that specific franchise 3 more times for a total of 5 years if the city chose. And the city may not choose, and if the city doesn't, then the city would go about advertising again.
Okay.
Everybody else good? All right, we got a motion from Bonnie, second from Faith. A roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Mangus? Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
I'm going to vote no because I have a difference of opinion on that, and I'll look at that.
Okay, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
And obviously, because Tom put the extension on that, this next resolution is gonna fit that. We were a little concerned about deadlines. So our next resolution is just to make sure that we extend having Republic as our service until this has been resolved as far as the bidding process. So I wanna make sure you all know that. So, Ms. Catherine?
Resolution 023-005, a resolution approving the extension of the current franchise agreement for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse in the city of Shepherdsville. Whereas the city attorney has advised that an ordinance awarding a new franchise agreement for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse is required under Kentucky law in order for said franchise to be valid. And whereas the current franchise agreement for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse granted to Republic Services of Kentucky, LLC Republic, expires on April 1st, 2023. And whereas the city council will not be able to award the sale of a franchise for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse prior to April 1st, 2023. And whereas in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, it is necessary to continue with the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse in the city until such time as the city council can award the sale of a franchise agreement and execute same. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council authorizes and approves an extension of the contract with Republic dated February 5th, 2018, the contract. The extension shall continue until the city awards a new franchise for the collection and disposal of garbage and executes said franchise agreement. The extension shall automatically expire on the day prior to the effective date of the new franchise agreement for the collection of garbage and refuse in the city, and that Mayor Jose Cabero be and hereby is authorized and directed by the City Council to execute an extension of the current contract with Republic for the collection and disposal of garbage and refuse in the city, and to do all further acts and things, and to execute all further documents in writing which the authorized signatory determines to be necessary or desirable in order to effect this resolution.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. All right, any questions, discussion? Motion by Faith and second by Bonnie. Roll call, please.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus? Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Well, thank you all for that. Motion carries on that. Now, for old business, probably the highlight of the night. All right, it's the second reading on our ordinance 023012, obviously for our financing our project. So, Ms. Catherine?
Okay. Summary of ordinance 023-012, an ordinance of the city of Shepherdsville, Kentucky, approving a lease agreement for the financing of a project, providing for the payment and security of the lease, creating a sinking fund, and authorizing the execution of various documents related to the lease. The ordinance provides for the approval of a lease agreement, the lease, to be entered into by the leasee and the Kentucky Bond Corporation, the lessor, for the purpose of financing certain public improvements for the leasee. The ordinance also contains provisions providing for a general obligation pledge of the leasee to levy and assess sufficient taxes to comply with the obligation of the leasee to pay lease rental payments to the lessor under the lease, and for the creation of a sinking fund to be pledged as further security for the payment of such lease rental payments and certain other obligations of the lessor. As required by KRS Section 83A.060, the section of the ordinance relating to the leasee's pledge to levy and assess a tax to pay the obligations under the lease is set forth in its entirety. Section 2, General Obligation Pledge. Pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, including particularly Sections 66.011 through 66.171 inclusive of the Kentucky Revised Statutes as amended, the General Obligation Act, the obligation of the leasee created by the lease shall constitute a full general obligation of the leasee, and for the prompt payment of the lease rental payments under and as defined in the lease, the full faith, credit, and revenue of the leasee are hereby pledged. During the period the lease is outstanding, there shall be, and there hereby is, levied on all of the taxable property in the leasee, in addition to all other taxes, without limitation as to rate, a direct tax annually in an amount sufficient to pay the lease rental payments under the lease as and when due, it being hereby found and determined that the current tax rates of the leasee are within all applicable limitations. The tax shall be and is hereby ordered, computed, certified, levied, and extended upon the tax duplicate and collected by the same officers in the same manner and at the same time that taxes for general purposes for each of the years are certified, extended, and collected. The tax shall be placed before and in preference to all other items and for the full amount thereof, provided, however, that in each year, to the extent that other lawfully available funds of the leasee are available for the payment of the lease rental payments under the lease and are appropriated for such purpose, the amount of such direct tax upon all the taxable property in the leasee shall be reduced by the amount of such other funds so available and appropriated. That's not to be read.
So that version of it, she could have just said, we have to make sure we pay it. That would have been the Cliff Note version, right, Steve, Brian? All right. So with that said, obviously, we've had a lot of conversation about that. Obviously, we'll go back to our Lexington, time that we were there in Lexington, obviously spend time with these fine folks, explaining to you guys about the money. I want to throw one other thing in there for you all. I mentioned this to Steve and Brian. Tanya and I spent some time looking at our finances, and I can tell you that we're in really good shape. And one of the motions we're going to make, it's a motion, but it's really more of, talk to Tanya already, all we're doing is just explaining. Because the way we are set up in our accounts for the city, we actually have the first, because one of the concerns I had with this borrowing $30 million is that we wanted to have a fund set up. We're not required to have a sinking fund. It's really a minimal application, and it says a lot about the city of Shepherdsville, our credit, where we're at. But one of the key things in this, I wanted to make sure that we always had money put away for 1 year of payments. And because of that, what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to take one account that we have that was in an audit for one of our banks that we actually got penalized for because of the way it was handled in the account that it was. It's very complex. We're going to take that money and actually take some of our money and move it into another account to build our first year of payments. As I was explaining to Steve and Brian, that what we're going to do is we're going to set an ordinance up that says that we keep a carry of $2 million minimal in this account. We'll have the right to always add money to it, and this ordinance will also say that this money is only to be used to make payments for the money that we're going to borrow. So we're going to be good stewards of not only we're asking to borrow the money, take it out of our budget that we have, not asking for more money from the taxpayers, and then being able to put money right now in an account that we can secure next year's payments, and then continue to look at how the city grows, how the community has more people living here, our tax revenue base, our occupational tax, that we can continue to do that. Our goal is, for the length of the loan, and we've made it very clear, we would like to find ways to pay that off earlier than is established. But the nice thing about it is, we're in a situation that we can borrow this money. And that's exciting when you talk about building your community and having things for families that we haven't had for a very long time. And I think that's important for you all to see that we're actually doing this. We're taking the initiative to be conservative and make sure we have the money set aside. And again, this council has had plenty of opportunities, been with good resources to make sure that they understand what we're asking them to do. And so with that said, I know it's a little lengthy, but it's important that you guys understand that we take this very seriously. We're excited, but again, we want to make sure that we're good stewards of this money as well. So with that said, is there any discussions? Paula, would you like to add anything? We're good? Mm-hmm. All right, I need a motion, please.
I make a motion.
Paula making a motion. I need a second, please. Second with Ms. Jennifer. All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Hibbert,
Yes.
Ms. Enlow,
Yes.
Ms. Mangus,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Portman.
And, I want to thank you all, and if you don't care, I'm going to dance on the counter now. That's not, don't do that, don't do that?
No.
All right, I wouldn't, not yet. Well, I'm excited, and I think everybody knows how I feel about this, but I want to make sure you all know, I really appreciate you spending some time with it. Absolutely.
I want to say something too. We've had long discussions with the mayor about how this money's going to be controlled. We're asking that we get a monthly statement each month that shows every penny of where it's gone to, if it's spent, and how much we still have. And we are getting the other departments to help make cuts in their departments so that we have more money to make payments with. So we're trying to be as fiscally responsible with this and still give all the citizens what they deserve, to get our roads fixed and get our park fixed up and make it what y'all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anybody else? I mean, I know it's always been a big thing, and I know we're all wanting to see good things started. I can't wait to put a shovel in the ground. And I think the key for all this is, there's probably about a 3 to 4 year process. There'll be things done along the way that we'll be able to utilize parts of the park, but we want to make sure that everybody sees it. We'll have pictures of everything that's going on, Town Square, the Aquatic Center. We'll have, when we've chosen it, and the council's actually going to look at some of the Town Square different setups to see which one would be really symbolizing Shepherdsville. It's going to be cool. So a lot of work in front of us. It will be, every penny that we spend will be itemized. It'll be in a PDF file that they'll get to see, and we'll keep it up. Everything we spend, they will know and you will know, because we're working on our website now to have information so that you can see. And anytime that you have any questions, my door is always open. You want to come in or ask any questions about anything we're doing, you're more than welcome to come in there. But we're excited to do this, and I want to thank the council and really appreciate it. I'm excited to get things started. So thank you all for that. All right, moving on to business here. In our excitement last meeting, we were able to read, and what basically the next two zonings are the zonings from our last meeting. But in that, just for, not that there would be, thank you, gentlemen, be safe. Thank you all very much. But, so it's a formality today. We're gonna read each of these separate and vote on them separate. We put the three together, and normally, it's very unusual for Shepherdsville to have more than just one property and one person. It's very seldom throughout the history. Dwayne, you probably know that. Doesn't happen very often. And so what we did is we read all three of them. We all voted what we voted, so we're voting the same way. It's just a formality of separating each one of them. Not that legal court system might be that they may just need one piece that needs to be part of it. That's why you have to do this. So again, it's a formality today, but we just want to make sure that you are aware why we're having the same information that was on last meeting. So with that said, I'll let you get started with the first ordinance on that.
You want me to read the whole?
It's just
I
a
think
roll
that-
call.
I think it's just a roll call.
Just a roll call.
I think we can just do a roll
Yep.
call of the number. I don't even
Yep.
know that you need.
Just
to
do the
read
roll
all
call on
of
the
it.
numbers then. Can we do that, Ms. Brenda? You don't want to make me read that again?
They want me to read that. These two is the one that had findings of facts, so when they.
Well, we still have the record from our finding of facts of the last three. Which numbers were those two?
That was for the 023-006 and the 023-007.
Okay.
Should be in there.
Were the finding of facts the same for both?
Yes, for both those pieces of property, Mike. Yes, yes.
So we'll just roll call on each one.
All right, so everybody, so what we need to do is just have the roll call on each one. So on each one, this first one here, we're just gonna do a roll call on it, because it's the same information. We just need to vote for them separately instead of like we did. We voted for both these two together. All right, so roll call on 023.
We need a motion to.
Oh, a motion, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, gotta hit myself. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion to
I
deny
wanted
the
to
rezoning.
discuss- Okay, go ahead, he made the motion to.
Yep. Need a second on that, please?
Second.
Second by Bonnie?
Okay. Ms. Portman,
I had a question after the motion.
Yep, go ahead.
Could you repeat what the reasoning was on both of those for
Yep, the tax line.
rejection? Was it so
Yep.
a yes, excuse me, a yes vote is,
No, so on this,
to deny.
excuse me, a yes vote is to deny.
okay, if you look at the motion, it says on the sheet there, it says motion to approve or deny. So
Okay,
you're making a motion to
To
deny.
deny.
okay.
And then we had a second by Bonnie on that. See, what we did on both of these is to make sure on these zoning, we put it in there because in most cases, it seems like we obviously to approve, but we want to have both options actually listed there when you're voting for it. Okay, so we have a motion to deny.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mike? And then did you want to see the?
What were the finding of facts on those?
Issues with school buses and the kids waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's-
The surrounding properties that are residential, the large fuel tank storage being so near a residential area, and the property is located in a floodplain.
Okay.
But they're listed for you, Mike, in your minutes there too, okay? All right.
Do I-
Anything else, Mike?
No.
All right,
Okay.
roll call, please.
Ms. Mendez?
How are we voting? Just vote the
Motion to
same way.
deny, so yeah, it's a,
No.
no, it's a
Oh,
yes.
yes, I mean,
We would, yeah.
I thought we were voting the same
No, no.
way.
Mr. Whitaker?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
No.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
5 and 1.
She had already asked me, and I said yes.
All right, so 5-1 carries on that one, all right. Again,
Roll call.
023007, roll call on this, please. A motion to approve or deny.
I'll make the motion to deny.
Motion to deny,
Second.
again with Bonnie, is it second?
Okay. Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hibbert?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you all for that. We appreciate your patience out there. All right, same thing on the other ordinance, it has 023008, 023009, and 023010. We're gonna do each one again. I don't know if we had any discussion, this was again the formality of Tony's properties, we're just doing them separately. So if there's not any questions or any discussion, I need a motion to approve or deny,
Motion to approve.
okay? And then second by Faith. She was trying to beat Brad. I know she was trying to beat
Sorry,
Brad. All right.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
No.
All right. Now, for 023009, I need a motion to approve or deny.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
Second.
second by Jennifer.
Okay. Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
No.
All right. And last but not least, 023010, need a motion to approve or deny
Motion to approve.
by Bonnie.
Second.
That's a tough one.
Who was that?
Okay.
I think, yeah, she's closer to her, Jennifer.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
No.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you all for that. All right. We obviously had our last meeting, we went through our audit. We're starting our second one probably late May. And then by October, we'll actually be ahead of the game on our audits. As we meant that comment to you guys the last time, it's really important for people to understand that affects our grants. It affects our status if we don't keep our audits up. And this has quite frankly been that's been a very frustrating thing that we're spending all this time and money to get 3 audits done in 1 year because we're 3 years behind. So obviously, we're getting it taken care of. Tanya and her group are doing a good job. And we're getting our systems in place as we move forward to get things, because that's been the struggle with the first one. But these next 2, they've got the information they need. They got the information ready. We're working with the same partners, and we're going to see a little bit more expediting it, because that last one took almost a year with everything that was going on with that. So we appreciate that. But all we're doing today is we're having a roll call vote to accept the 2021 audit. So, if you will, Ms. Brenda.
Quick, Mayor, quick
Yep.
question. When did
Yep.
you say the 2022 will probably?
It's going to be like the 3rd week of May, about the last part of May.
End of May.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. We're confirming the date, but we know it's the last part of May. All right.
Motion to
Motion to accept.
Make a motion.
All right. Not, Jennifer got that. Give it to Jennifer. Paula,
And
give the
then
next one.
Paula?
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Enlow?
Yes.
Ms. Mangus?
Yes.
Ms. Portman?
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
Mr. Hibbert?
Yes.
Ms. Mendez?
Yes.
Okay. And as I mentioned, this is the audit itself had some things that we have to correct. There was 5 items, and we've corrected 2. We got 2 others fixing. One that we have is an HR payroll thing that we have because we don't have an HR. But in this one, there is an account that I was mentioning earlier that we're going to move into another account that gives us better rates. One of the things that we found, our credit is, we found out that obviously some of the rates that our funds were getting were very, very low. And we made some challenges, and we're very excited to say that we've gotten quite a considerably higher interest rates now with our money, which is going to be a nice little return as far as the city and the taxpayers' money. So we're kind of excited about that. So anyway, I want to make sure that you know we are going to take the next step to get this next audit done. So we're pretty excited about that. Thank you all, council. Before we get to signing speakers, I want to mention just a couple quick things. Our next meeting is going to be about code enforcement. Outside of the money that we're borrowing to build our city up, one of the things that we have to do is we have to work on setting a standard of how we're going to make sure that we move forward with cleaning up the city. And the problem with a lot of things that we do is our ordinances and the way they were set up, just the dotting i's and crossing t's. We take that for granted, but in a court of law, right, Ms. Catherine?
Right.
We would lose. We would lose. So unfortunately, we've had to do some work on it. These folks have done some extensive work. They've had quite a bit of time on that. So I think it's very important the next 2 council meetings that we have is going to be setting the standard on what we accept as far as our businesses and what we do in our residential areas. And so it's going to be very important that I encourage people to be a part of this, because as we move forward and we're building a community that we can all be proud of, we got some cleaning up to do. And we've done some things already to start working on that. As you've seen some of the clearing out we've done on both sides of the Wendy's and the Taco Bell, and looking for those opportunities. We've got some big things in front of us, but I wanted you all to know that's coming down the pike. I do want to mention one more thing here that's a little bit frustrating, like we talked about some things. We had a project that was in the budget 3 years ago. That project, because it's taken this long to approve, is going to cost the taxpayers $42,000 more 3 years later for materials and labor. And so what I encourage this group, and I've been very excited about working with you all, we're getting things done. It doesn't mean we rush. There's only one person rushing, and that's me. The rest of them are trying to be good stewards of things. But I think it's important that they've actually reminded me, we do take these things seriously, but I encourage this council to remember that even if there are differences in this group, whatever the group is, that we have to do things in an expeditious way. If we don't, we let 3 years go by, and we have a project that was approved in a budget 3 years ago, cost the city $42,000 more. It's a project that we have already approved for. So it's important for everybody here, and just remind the council that, I get it. We do need to make sure that we're good stewards of the money, but please don't let that time go so far past that we're actually doing things like this. So with all things said, I've sent an email out to the council, and council, what I want to do out of respect to you guys, because that money is $42,000, it's above the $30,000, I want to make sure that even though we've approved the project, I'm going to have something in our meeting next week that you guys can approve that difference. I want to make sure that you know that. Again, there's the transparency part of it. I want to make sure that you all know that. But we'll take care of things. Like I said, I can't complain about anything. I think we've been working together. We've been getting things out front. And I'll do anything to get you the information so you make a good decision about things, okay? All right, with that said, I think they're tired of hearing me talk. All right, so we have some guest speakers, but I want to remind, first of all, we're going to call up the guest speakers. And one of the things we want to do is we have allowed some courtesy as far as speakers. And it's not that we don't want to have speakers, but a lot of times our agenda is about an agenda. If you want to speak about that agenda, that's fine. 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and it's important, it's about that agenda, but we've tried to be courteous in these first few meetings that we allow people to speak up about things you want to do. If you have something that you're concerned about that's not on the agenda, come to this office. My door is always open. Let's sit down and talk about it. We'll put you on the agenda. We'll do that. There's been people that have spoken many times about different things. That's too much. But we have things that our neighbors want to talk about that's in the city, that's fine. So we're going to do that today, but please keep in mind, if you have something you want to talk, come to the office first. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what your concern is. Let's get it on the agenda and figure out the right way to do it, because there's probably more people who want to talk about the same thing. So with that said, our first guest speaker is a gentleman made here. Keith, you want to come up here, please? If you will, Keith, when you get up here, first thing I need you to do is push that button. It'll turn green on you. All right, and then if you'll state your full name and address, please.
Yeah, Keith Rodriguez, 351 River Edge Drive in Shepherdsville.
Yes, sir.
Wanted to come before you this evening to talk about an issue of public safety that I've become aware of in this past week. And I want to begin by just encouraging you as our leaders, our town leaders, of what I would say is the God-given role of government and leadership, which is to uphold justice. I'm a pastor, so I'll share scripture with you. Romans 13:3-4 says, "For rulers are not a cause of fear for good behavior, but for evil. Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For it," the it there is the ruler or government, "is a minister of God to you for good." And I want you to take note of this. "But if you do what is evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword for nothing. For it is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath on the one who practices evil." So in summary, the most basic function of government is to uphold what is good and to punish that which is evil or not good, right? Get to the point, I'm sure you're probably thinking. On March 9th at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, that was this past Thursday, armed criminals entered my neighborhood, Shawnee Acres. They entered my residence. I own the fact that I made heirs that allowed them to enter into my residence. They stole my property. I was alerted through security cameras on my property. I then contacted the authorities to pursue and apprehend these criminals. I realized after they left my neighborhood, they went about halfway down the street and stopped. As they left the neighborhood, I went out to inspect my property and realized that my car had been stolen. I once again phoned dispatch to inform them and give a description of the vehicle. The police showed up. I'm thankful for our police. They were quick. They were polite and cordial to my wife and I as we were in distress. They showed up 25 to 30 minutes after the phone call. They informed us initially of good news. The vehicle, along with other stolen vehicles from that early morning incident, had been spotted and attempted to be pulled over. Bad news. The criminals fled and police were not able to pursue due to policy that restricts their ability to chase and apprehend criminals. The police officers seemed eager to be empowered to carry out, to the best of their ability, the God-given mandate to handle criminals in the midst of a felony act, but were unable to do so because of the policy handed down from city leadership. To be very clear, these criminals are armed with handguns. I have a picture of them with a handgun in my driveway. They stole my property along with other citizens of Shepherdsville. They invaded my residence, and they destroyed property as they left my neighborhood. It is likely that the following morning, again, we see pictures of these criminals in another neighborhood very near to mine, again caught on camera, firearms visible. The newest elected leadership for Shepherdsville ran a campaign on progress for our city. Infrastructure, small business growth, and a family-friendly atmosphere, all things I too support. However, if our community is unsafe and those charged with keeping it safe, our police force, are unable to carry out the fullest extent of these things, empowerment needed to do their jobs, how can we call that progress? How can we call our community family-friendly? How can we say that we don't want to just be a truck stop, but residences, if we can't protect those residences? How will we encourage families? We want to be a family-friendly community. How can we encourage families to set up businesses and risk their livelihood if criminals are not dealt with? Many of our residential community, many of our neighbors in Shawnee Acres are talking of moving once again. One family just relocated a few doors down from me from Louisville. They're once again considering relocating because they don't feel safe. And Thursday morning proved that they are not safe, and the police are unable to fully carry out their duties to keep us safe. I hope the council, mayor, police leadership, and other influential leaders will agree with me in allowing our police officers the necessary autonomy, empowerment, and support to apprehend criminals as they see fit, including pursuing those in the act of felony crimes. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And Keith, I want to mention this to you. If you would like, you're more than welcome to come to this office. Me and you, the police chief, will sit down.
Yes,
But
sir.
we'll explain to you exactly why that policy is in place, because it's not a zero-sum game. It's about the endangerment so many times that these pursuits call. But I'd be more than glad to spend more time with you. I appreciate your opinion about your neighborhood and your family, because you're right, we do need to be safe. But I think it's a little more detailed conversation. But please, you're more than welcome. Please come and see us, and me and you and the police chief will sit down. We'll do that with you, okay? Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it, buddy. All right, next up, we have Richard, and I can't read, oh, that's that trouble guy. Come on up here. Can you just be trouble guy? Is that okay? Can I just call you Richard Trouble Guy? I can't read that last name.
Everybody knows me, they call me Trouble.
All right, see, then I was close.
Last name's Luce.
All right, oh, Liz, that's right. All right, so would you say your full name and address, please?
All right, my name's Richard Luce. I live in 344 Crestwood Lane.
Yes, sir.
That's on the northern end of the county.
Yes, sir.
That'd be in Hillview.
Yes, sir.
What I'm coming tonight for is, I know everybody's got one copy of a flyer, and Faith has got the second one. I ran out of ink. But I'm director of Cruising for Cancer. Most people know who I am throughout the county. We're pretty well organized. But in June 10th is our biggest event. The Brown Cancer Center will be there. We'll have the mammogram bus there. The reason I'm bringing this particular event up is the mammogram bus can do 25 mammograms during the event. So what we're trying to do, right now I've got 4 people wanting to sponsor a woman to do the mammogram during our event. So what we're doing is we're going out and trying to get either a business or a person or somebody to help sponsor a mammogram just for one woman. The cost of the mammogram is $85. So that's why this event is so important. What makes it easy with the women, I ain't gonna say easy with the
I was
women.
gonna say, wait a minute.
But let me rephrase this. What makes it so easy and accessible is, one, it's on a Saturday, so nobody misses work. So they're able to come and do the mammogram. I've got the number if y'all want it, because I'll have to call Kentucky Cancer Program and schedule. Now, on the other event, which Faith has, she can pass it around and show y'all.
Sure.
We are trying to, we did it last year, but we're trying to organize between the Shepherdsville City Fair and Bullet Blast with a car show.
All right, so let's do this, Richard. Obviously, appreciate what you're doing on June 10th. That's I commend you on that. If you'll get back with Amber and Faith, Amber, will you guys reach out? Would you reach out to them, Faith, after this? Just get back and we'll work out something what we can do on June 10th. But I know that we're working things to really make it work. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming out.
Richard, I got one question real
Yep.
quick.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
So is this for women that don't have insurance? Because I know sometimes you could go to the mobile things.
Well, when they call, if they don't have the insurance, that's where the $85 will come in.
Okay,
Because there's 2 things that happens. One, if they don't have insurance, there's another program. Used to be 3, but there's another program that if they don't fall underneath that program, so it'd be one of those ones that'd be uninsured. But either way it goes, we're still looking for them, because we want to make sure that they have the opportunity.
Yeah, and this-
absolutely.
Yeah, let's do this too. Also, there's plenty of ways of social media, things that we can do to get it out. Just make sure we have a good contact, a person that can answer those questions. That's what's gonna be real critical to this, because they're gonna ask a bunch of questions about the service. I think the service is great, but we just need to make sure that they've got a good person they can talk to. And I don't think it's me or you. Just kidding.
I'll
Just
give you-
saying that out loud.
I'll give you a call, Richard, and get the number and share it with
Thanks,
everybody
Richard.
else.
Either that, or I can text it to you.
All right, do that. Thank you.
Richard, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. All right, we have one last speaker, Don Miller. Sir, Don Miller. Don, how are you? No, good. Good. Come on up here. Would you repeat your name and address, please?
Don Miller. I am treasurer of Dogwood Run
Uh-huh.
HOA. Lakes of Dogwood, they're
Yes, ma'am.
together.
Yes, ma'am.
We had a home burn there December 17th, and several neighbors have reached out to code enforcement and city ordinance about the situation they're in. However, when the wind come through Friday, it blew the privacy fence down, and this backyard is horrible. I mean, there's probably rats and stuff living back here. I have some pictures, and we just want some help.
Okay, do me a favor, I'll give you my number after here, that you can send me those pictures. I'll get that for you, Dawn. And then, I think I've got Tom here somewhere. There he is. Hey, Tom, I don't know what we can do. I know you can't hide, I can see you. I know you came in, see, he was trying to hide behind Larry. So Dawn, let's do this. We know that we know about that house. We know it's obviously it's in our top 5. And the fact that we're doing this code enforcement, we've got some opportunities there. I'll go out there. I want to see it, but because I've already seen it. Yeah, but I want to see it now with the fence down. But we'll do some things. We'll go out there. I'll get a chance. I'll have some time tomorrow. I'll run out there. Maybe me and Tom will take a look at it. It's not so much it's a public works thing, but we may need to try to do something just to contain that visibility.
Yeah, I know there's no one living there, but I think people are going there.
Yeah, I think
we see several people throughout the day. And
I've seen some I've seen some rental properties back there that the same thing. In doing the campaigning, I saw quite a bit of that back there. So we know there's some rental properties that people are just taking advantage of because nobody's in them. So I think the biggest thing is just to target them. The people that actually own them are the ones going to be held accountable. I can tell right now, our code enforcement couldn't do anything to them. And that's the problem we have right now. So we do have a few more weeks. I mean, we always bring up the sandbag house, but that's just one of many opportunities for this city to do. We better do it right, though. Because if we don't, we're going to be in a bad spot. And again, that's the same thing. We want to make sure we're taking care of you guys in your neighborhood, but we don't want to hold the city liable for if we don't handle it right. And she reminds me of that every day. But thank you, Don.
Good backup.
And I'll get those pictures from you, okay? Thank you very much. All right, with that said, I appreciate it. All right, so signing speaker done. Planning and zoning, Mr. Dwayne. Oh, you're Board of Adjustments. There's nobody's planning and zoning here. I'm sorry. I skipped over planning and zoning. There wasn't anybody there.
Oh, we had several cases for the city of Sherman.
Okay.
Done one of them.
Okay.
On Holly Cox's property.
Yes, sir.
And the rents we had and the zoning y'all done brought about 7 buildings together right there.
Okay.
That's a good deal on that one. And they had a conditional use permit also went along with that. And the other case we had, my paper was up there. It's a Paul Sherfield LLC, actually located behind Bradshaw Estates.
Huh?
The new warehouse and stuff come in there.
Uh-huh.
The only thing they needed was variance on the parking sizes, which has become pretty standard, from 10 by 20 to 9 by 18.
Okay.
That's normal now.
So,
Pretty small, but if you got a big car,
I was going to say.
I recommend you get a small car. Small truck.
Okay.
And, I think that's all. Anyway, our meetings, like I said, is,
When is again?
second Thursday of the month.
What's it?
Our meetings are
Third.
second Thursday of the month.
Second Thursday.
That's at the Annex Building,
Uh-huh.
and y'all welcome to come down.
You know, it wouldn't be, I don't know about the council, don't know if you got time. I mean, I would like to see somebody go to that. Dwayne, we will try. I think it's important for us to see, you know.
I appreciate y'all listening.
What's that, Bonnie? Oh, you get to, 6 o'clock? All right, we're gonna, so,
We try to rush things through, but more time around about 6:30.
no.
If we got big cases, sometimes it goes to 7, but we don't want to wait long.
All right, so what do you think? Can we just think about maybe trying to find somebody that would go to one of the meetings? I think it'd be kind of good if we could get somebody, and then come back and report if Dwayne's doing his job.
Yeah. I'll meet you at the door with a bottle of water.
Go.
Y'all come on down.
All right, what's that?
I said, I'll meet you at the door with a bottle of water.
Well, there you go. Can't pass up that deal. But Dwayne, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir, very much. All right, thank you. So, all right, so I'm looking back at, I see the department heads. Lane, I see you back there. You have any words of wisdom for us? We do have actually we got some good news for you next. We talked about it. We're going to we're going to present something to you next meeting. It's pretty cool. They've worked hard on grants, and this one here is a little bit, it's got a little tweaks and turns, and we finally figured it all out, right, Chief? So we think it's going to be something good to develop another team, but I think there's a way that really helps the city too, as far as doing things we do. And practicing some of those houses we talked about. All right. So Joey, I'm looking for, is there anybody, would you like to, words of wisdom or basketball player here?
Not very good.
coming from north, and is it happening all over our county?
It's happening everywhere. I've got a buddy that I work with. No. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate it. Major, appreciate it. All right, Tom, anything else you want to add to things?
Nothing exciting tonight, sir.
It's kind of almost
I'm
good.
gonna take questions.
There's always a celebrity in the group. All right, Miss Brenda, would you like to add anything to this? No. All right, and then, please see if I got, no, we're missing it. Oh, we don't have anybody. We have Art or Scott. I already talked to them both. What's that? Oh, with Tanya. Tanya. Hi, Tanya. Don't hide back here.
We're working hard on budgets. The accounting department is, just got the audit back, getting ready to do another one, getting prepared for budgets and staying busy.
And I know you're gonna have numbers for them for the end of the week, like we did the last time. She's gonna have that for you guys again, so you have the numbers in front of you. You see where we're at after February. It's kinda nice to have that. So thank you for that. And, like I said, we're working on budgets now, and we're gonna have them all packaged up. It's gonna be amazing, but we're gonna have them all done. We're gonna give them to the council. They're gonna have 4 weeks on it, and we're gonna have our first reading the second meeting of May. So they're gonna have good time to work on this, and then the second reading will be the first week in June, and our budget will be done on time. Okay? All right. I mean, it's important because these things actually do create a lot of problems for the payroll and what gets passed and when it gets passed. And so I know it creates a lot of work for the finances, but, I know everybody's working hard, and I mean that everybody's working hard. So we're really excited about that. We're getting stuff done. All right. We got all that done. Miss Bonnie. Oh, let's start this way. Miss Paula?
The 22nd of March, we'll have a beautification meeting at 6:30, and everyone's welcome to come, so.
Oh. All right, appreciate that.
When is
Oh.
it? The 22nd.
Oh, you hit your microphone.
At 6:30 in this room.
And what that's gonna be about, that's actually part of the park plan, as we introduced that to you all a few weeks back. A lot will be talking about renovations to downtown. And we've said a couple things here, but to throw it in there, we're gonna put electric down both sides, finish up the curbing. We're actually looking aesthetically at all the electrical wires here that are above, moving them to the side street. We'll keep connectivity. We're gonna clean up so the lamp posts will look nice. It'll have a small town feel from Salt River to 44. So and they're working on aesthetics like the benches and the flower pots, and we're putting different poles up there. We're looking at some flag designs so we can have seasonalities. So it looks like a small town feel for our downtown area. So, and then that includes the town square that's gonna be right there, as you all see the entrance to that First Street side. It's that stone wall. That doesn't go anywhere. We're keeping that wall, but we're actually gonna build our town square right in that area. So, and we're gonna have diagrams when we finally pick an actual model we can take. So, anyway, so that's what they're gonna be doing, part of that, and some of the things in the city, to really look at how we really want the city to represent. And we've got some really cool things coming down the pike. We've got some good partners throughout this community, but we've also got private investors. One of the things I haven't mentioned to you guys is that we had a lot of people that see that the city is actually investing in the city. Businesses really like that. We get a lot of phone calls now, people talking to us, that they know we're serious about making our city a better place to be and live and work and play, that they want to be a part of that. So it's really exciting to see some of the conversations we had. And I know one thing, KLC says I can't talk a lot about it right now. Mike, what you got?
I don't have,
Yep.
I just wanted to tell Courtney that, somebody approached me at, one of the fish fries this last week and, asked about the lights downtown, the lighting, project, and said that they would be willing to, sponsor at least one and maybe two.
Look at that, all right.
I'll give you their name.
That's
after
awesome,
this
Mike.
In a minute, you can, contact them and bring all you can out.
The momentum is growing, it's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
And
very
Mike,
much.
Mike, good news. I like that. Mike, thank you. All right, Miss Faith?
Well, I don't have too much to say. I just want to thank all the employees for all the hard work they do. Like I said, I ride around and watch the employees. Not that I'm checking up on you, but you all are giving 100%, and I appreciate everything you do to make us look good. And I want to thank the mayor for meeting with me this week on the issue I had, and so thank you for that, and Bonnie for calling me while I was sick, so thank you, everybody.
All right. Miss Jennifer?
I don't have anything, but drawing on him, I was actually out at an establishment, I'm not gonna tell you where, but I I was at an establishment and 3 women in there all had the same thing happen. Their cars were broke into, stolen, so it is becoming kind of an epidemic.
And what people forget, we're a town of 14,400, about 500,000 cars go up and down that road from Michigan to Alabama. So there's always that opportunity. So people talk a lot about your police department and your fire department and other first responders, and it's really critical to understand. It's coming. I mean, we see it, that's why people have moved out of the Louisville area, but that means that some of that crime has followed them.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's a focus for the city. I mean, it's gonna be a challenge everywhere, but I appreciate your comments, Jennifer. Mr. Brett?
Just one thing, this is for my colleagues up here more than anything, but as we get into the last days of the legislative session in Frankfurt, there's a lot of bills being put forth in the waning days. Some of these are not very advantageous to
Burden friendly.
for cities, municipalities.
Do you all-
Make my phone calls today.
Yeah, I've sent my emails and things too, but, yeah, just be aware of that. One in particular puts moratoriums on city annexations for like 3 years. And we all know how detrimental that is to economic growth and things like that. So just be aware of those things coming through and make sure you email or call your legislator. Thank you.
Brad, thank you. Ms. Bonnie?
Want to thank all the departments that took care of the storm, fire, police, and public works. Took care of all the trees down, wires down, and directing traffic and trying to keep the idiots out of the flooded water. But thank you all for that, because that was a pretty bad storm, and it was really dangerous for you all to have to be out there helping getting the trees off of the road and everything. So I really appreciate what y'all have done. And the last thing is we need to fix the time on our clock.
I know, I saw that. I saw it when I came in today. What a quick meeting.
Yeah. But
7-minute meeting.
yeah, I
we got that.
appreciate where everything's going, and it keeps going the way it is. I feel good about everything.
I appreciate that. Thank you all. All right, the moment. Get a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Mike? All right, making sure Mike gets that second. All right, roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. We'll have more exciting things for you next week.
Mr. Hibbert, I'm super excited about your